Okay, meeting recording in progress, so that means that should be good. All right, so hopefully everyone is logged on. Thank you for those of us joining today in person. This is awesome. Tonight we are talking about trips, scholarships, and club officers. So it's a lot we're going to jam into the next 45 minutes or so. So bear with us as we're working with two computers and people here. So as a reminder, feel free to ask any questions at any time. If you're joining online, you can type in the chat box there and I'll check it periodically as we're going. If you guys are here with us tonight, you guys just feel free to raise your hand and ask questions, and we will do those as we go, and we'll also have time at the end to ask some questions. So, make sure things are working. Okay, so tonight's agenda, why trips, scholarships, and club officers. We're going to go over the different trips that kids can go on. We're going to talk a little bit about scholarship opportunities for kids, and then I'm going to show some club officer resources for you guys. We're not going to be able to dig into a lot of these topics, like really in depth, but the club officer materials hopefully will be a starting point for you, and we're hoping to do some meeting material stuff and a later club leader development series training. And then we will end, just like we did last time, with a bunch of resources for you as club leaders to take home. These will also be available on our club leader website page on the Purdue Extension website. And then we'll have a time for questions as well tonight. So, as a reminder, our mission of 4-H is to provide real-life educational opportunities that develop young people who will have a positive impact in their communities and the world. We start every meeting reviewing this so that we know we get our mind in the right place as we're talking about all of these opportunities for kids, because all of the things that we're going to talk about tonight hopefully reflect this mission. So why trips, scholarships, and club officers? There are several opportunities for our 4-Hers to participate in local, state, national, and sometimes even international opportunities at fairly low cost when you look at some of the other opportunities out there for kids. When kids go on 4-H trips, it's very different. Than if they would be going with a school. They get to meet people across the state typically. It's just some unique opportunities. And the 4-H Council, they're very passionate about sending kids on trips. And so a lot of times we have sponsors that help out, or the council helps provide a big chunk of the cost that it takes to send kids on trips, because we want kids out there from Hendricks County seeing, meeting all sorts of different people, seeing what's in our own state, seeing what opportunities are out there, and just really give the kids a chance to explore. Scholarships, there's a lot of scholarships that are specific to 4-H members. Locally in Hendricks County specifically, and as 4-H members in general within Indiana. Additionally, being in 4-H also does help 4-H or help scholarship resumes. As kids are starting to think through that process, a lot of the life skills that they learn in 4-H can be translated and put into great scholarship application forms. And then our club officers are really important to talk about, because these are the people that are going to be leading the clubs, and we need to support them as club leaders. Our growing 4-Hers need the chance to take that charge, and one thing that we can do to help them is make sure we have resources available to them. So today, when we talk about trips and opportunities, we're going to talk about local, state, national trips, and we're going to try and go over them tonight based on the deadlines. So upcoming deadlines. I will say we don't have final costs on some of the trips that we're going to talk about tonight, but a lot of this information is going to come out in January. We do have some trips that are due before January, which we'll talk about, but sort of the timeline for applying for trips for 4-Hers. We will be sending out our information in January, except for the few we will talk about first. And then camp stuff is typically later in the spring when we get to talking about that as well. So we will start with our upcoming deadlines. So these are ones that are coming up quick. Tonight, there's a handout back there with some of this information. Again, it will be posted online as well with this video. First, we're going to talk about National 4-H Conference. This is for grades 9 through 12. It's the end of March through the beginning of April 2020. It takes place in Washington, D.C., and this is an application and interview process, because only a certain amount of kids from Indiana will attend this conference. Deadline for this is December 1st, so it's coming up. great opportunity for those of you that are going to be home on Thanksgiving break to fill out an application and submit that. It is done through 4-H online, so you do need to log on and be a active 4-H online participant. If you have questions about how to do that, make sure you call our office. Club leaders, this is a great opportunity for 4-Hers, so if you know someone in your club that might be interested in this, please push them towards it. It is just a phenomenal conference, a great opportunity, and the actual cost is $400, but because of sponsorship and our 4-H council, the 4-Her would only have to actually pay $50 of that if they are selected. Global Gateway Experience is another one that's coming up. The original deadline for this was December 1st, but it has been bumped back to December 13th for Hendricks County folks. We will be sending 11 county teams from across Indiana that is comprised of 4 youth, grades 7 through 12, and 1 adult. This year, we're changing things up a little bit. The Heifer Ranch that you see here pictured is in Perryville, Arkansas, and we've sent kids there for the past 3 or 4 years, I believe. They are no longer accepting outside groups such as 4-H, so we are actually kind of changing where we have this conference. This year it will be hosted in the Howell Nature Center in Howell, Michigan. It is still connected to Heifer Ranch and Heifer International, so the mission is very much the same, and kids will still learn very similar things about hunger and poverty, and they will actually still get to participate in what we call the Global Village, and that's where kids get to go out for a night into a scenario that would be like a third world country or somewhere around the world that is impoverished, and kids can they have limited resources for that evening. The actual cost is $175 a person, but because of, again, sponsorships, especially here in Hendricks County, the Cox Family Farms, it's only $50 for our kids plus a couple travel meals. The timeline for this is April. Again, this is an application process that you'll be able to find online, and I'll show you the website here later, and it'll be posted with this video as well. To find out more information about that, we sent kids on this trip every time that we have been able to go, and kids come back and say that this is a life-changing experience. So I really, really encourage you, if you have kids in your club that are interested in this sort of stuff, please, please, please push them to do this. The nice thing about going up to Michigan instead of Perryville is kids are actually missing one less day of school. In the past, they would miss a Friday and a Monday. This time, they would only be missing part of a day on Friday, depending on where they live, or just all of Friday. So Friday would be the only day that they would actually miss. Another upcoming deadline is our Teens as Teachers, and this is for teams of 3 to 5 teens, grades 8 through 11, and 1 adult. And this takes place in February, and it's going to be at Camp Tecumseh in Brookston, Indiana. And teens go to this conference. It's a weekend-long conference where they are learning a specific topic. Tracks include healthy living, teen leadership, computer science, animal biosecurity, and fluid power. So if you have kids that are in your club that are interested in any of these resources, this is a great opportunity for them, because what they do is they go for 3 days and they pretty much get to learn how to come back and teach others. So work with younger youth, work with their peers, how to even teach adults. So this is a great resource that we can have in Hendricks County. The goal is that they go and are sort of immersed in whatever track that they pick. And then they get to come back with all of that curriculum and a ton of resources to be able to come back and teach different lessons throughout the year in Hendricks County as well. The cost is $50 a person, but the 4-Her Council has decided that this is a great initiative, and we would really like to see some teams go, so it is actually only $25 for a 4-Her to attend. Any questions about those upcoming deadlines? So before we move on, I do want to remind everyone, most of our trips have some sort of cost to the 4-Her. However, Council is very, very passionate about making sure these kids can go on these trips. So if for any reason that down payment is an issue, please talk to the Extension office, talk to me, talk to your club leader, because we want kids to go and we have scholarships available. So club leaders, I hope that you can relay that message to your 4-Hers in case there is a kid that might want to go but might think that they can't afford it. We have scholarships available. So next we'll talk about our spring deadlines. We have typically sent out 2 rounds of trip applications. And we do that because we have sort of a limited amount of funds that we can use to send kids on these trips. So round 1 this year is going to come out in January, and it'll be due back the end of February, beginning of March. What will happen then is council will look through those applications. We'll make sure that we have kind of numbers in place. And if we are able to send more kids on certain trips, we will send out a second round that'll be due the end of March, beginning of April. Most trips have a few additional costs for travel, food, and souvenirs. So those are not included in any of the prices that you guys are going to see. For example, when we go to Roundup, I know we have a cost for lunch on the way there and the way back, and any souvenirs you would want. So just keep that in mind as we're going forward. And council has not set final price for the 4-H'er. That will come out in January with all of this information for our 4-H'ers as well. Okay, up first, Citizenship Washington Focus. This is grades 9 through 12. They must be at least 15 years old. This is the end of June to July 4th, 2020. So this is conducted at National 4-H Conference Center in Washington, D.C. 4-H'ers that attend this trip will get to explore Washington, D.C. They do a lot of different leadership breakout sessions as well. They will meet kids from around the nation at this event. And they also get the chance to visit legislators on Capitol Hill, and they will do a lot of sightseeing in Washington, D.C. It's a lot of walking, but a lot of fun. The registration deadline for this is going to be March 13th. This kicks off. That's going to be about the time frame a lot of these trips are going to be due for that first round. The actual cost for this is $1,600. Again, your cost is to be determined based on what council decides when this information comes out. 4-H Roundup is another one that we're going to talk about, and this is an awesome trip for our 7th through 9th graders. So this is a trip that a lot of kids go on, and once they kind of go on this, it's neat to watch them experience meeting other people and then get excited and either want to come back or go on other 4-H trips once they hit that 9th grade year, and they can go to other different trips as well. This is June 22nd through the 24th at Purdue University. About 500 youth from around the state of Indiana will be there. And this is an awesome opportunity for kids to just see what it's like to be on a college campus. They live in the dorms for those couple days. They walk on the campus in groups. This is a chaperone event, so we know that these are junior high age, and sometimes these are kids that are just seeing Purdue's campus for the very first time. So we do make sure that we have a lot of help making sure groups go where they're supposed to go, and that adults are chaperoning and making sure they're getting where they need to be. They get to talk with actual professors, actual college students throughout their time, and this is a process where there's it's a packet. They get to choose different classes. So they get to experience up to 3 classes, and it could be anywhere from flower arrangement to computer science to animal science to a leadership development class. The kids kind of get to pick and choose what they're interested in, and if this is one of those, if there is still available spots, a second round of applications will be sent out, because we love to send kids on this trip. We do partner with Boone County, so transportation is provided for this. So a bus will come here, pick up all of our kids, we'll go to Boone County, pick up all kids, and then head up to Purdue for 2 days. This year our chaperones for this trip are going to be Jeff Pell, our A&R educator, and then Ethan Truax is one of our other chaperones that is helping this year. So the actual cost is $200. Again, for 4-H'ers, it's to be determined, but we are very excited, and we have also gotten sponsorship from Farm Bureau for this event, so it is typically a lot less for kids to attend this trip, especially their first time. So 4-H Roundup was for 7th through 9th graders. Once they hit 9th grade, there's a lot more opportunities for 4-H'ers, including 4-H Academy. So at Roundup, they got to sort of pick and choose a lot of different classes. Academy is very specific, 3 days worth of immersion in a certain topic. So things like animal science, computer science, civic engagement, healthy living. I think they added an EMS course within the past couple of years. There's a journalism one. There is a on my stuff. Finance one as well. And this is early June, so 10th through the 12th. And again, they get to still experience that college life. So it is at Purdue. It still is a chaperone event. The neat thing about this is the kids have a lot more ownership and a lot of times feel more comfortable around campus. So we encourage them to walk in groups of 3, 4 or more. That's consistently what all of these trips you'll hear people say, but they get to really dig into that certain topic area. So this is a great opportunity for your high school level kids. Registration is going to be due the middle of March again, and the actual cost is $200. Again, 4-H'er cost is going to be less than that, but will be determined at a later date. And you can see some pictures. So we tried to include a lot of pictures on here because the stuff they do at these workshops are just awesome. They really get to dive into their interests, which is great. State 4-H Junior Leader Conference is our next one we'll talk about, and this is for junior leaders in 9th through 12th grade. It's June 6th through the 19th, and this is held at the University of Indianapolis, so still a college campus, but a different campus than Purdue. This one focuses on leadership development and personal and team leadership. So they do a lot of team building activities. We have sent kids on this trip, and they come back and they make for great club officers, junior leader officers, because they have a lot of team building activities that they are empowered with and are ready to lead a group with. Registration will be due the middle of March, and again, your cost is to be determined, but actual cost is going to be $180. Again, a great trip. If you have junior leaders in your club, we will talk about this in junior leaders as well a lot, and really encourage kids to try this event. So up next, a spring deadline is our camp counselors and camp. First up is our camp counselors. These are 9th through 12th graders. Camp this year is June 14th through the 16th, and it's held at Shakamak State Park. We have a lot of different trainings that we offer for our counselors to go through. We ask that they go to at least 2 of the 3 training sessions, and we camp with Boone, Tipton, and Montgomery County. So our counselors come from Boone, Tipton, and Montgomery County. We do offer a camp counselor boot camp, which is April 11th, and this is really designed for new camp counselors. We walk them through what it means to be a camp counselor. So we have pictures from Shakamak State Park in case they had never been a camp counselor before. We go through a lot of what happens if this happens, what do you do when this happens, and our trainings are all held at Boone County Fairgrounds. Rides are provided if absolutely needed. We encourage kids to get there and carpool if they can. And this is something we always need camp counselors. So if you have 4-H'ers in your club that are great at showing leadership, or even maybe have the potential, we need camp counselors of all different leadership abilities because everybody connects with kids differently. So it's great to have a wide variety of camp counselors that can reach a wide variety of kids. Our camp is for 3rd through 6th graders, and that is also June 14th through the 16th. And again, we camp with Boone, Tipton, and Montgomery counties, and the classes we offer include like swimming, camping, outdoor cooking, crafts. They get to meet new people. We do stay in cabins, air-conditioned cabins, with bathrooms in them, so we're not totally primitive. They're very nice cabins. And the camp counselors get to lead our sessions. So they do have a really nice swimming pool there with lifeguards provided by Shakamak State Park. So we're lucky to be able to use that facility. But things like our outdoor cooking class, we train our camp counselors on what to do. We have done things like fire building. We've had maker space activities for kids, again, all led by camp counselors. This is a great intro into going on trips. We talk with our camp counselors about that a lot because a lot of times this will be one of the very first trips parents will send their kids on. So we make sure that we try and educate all of our camp counselors to handle situations like homesickness. We do have a nurse on staff there. We have some staff that is hired by our camping association to help us with a couple big things. But our camp counselors do an awesome job at leading our kiddos. So again, a great trip opportunity. If you have those 3rd through 6th graders that need something to do, this is an awesome opportunity for them.
Katie?
Yes.
Why have we taken the 7th and 8th graders out of the camp process?
Why have we?
Yeah. Because they're gonna be going to camp, but then they gotta wait 2 years before they become a counselor.
So they get to go to Roundup. That's a great question. And for those online, the question was, why did we take 7th and 8th graders out of the camping equation? So they have the opportunity to go to Roundup. And we believe that the 7th and 8th grade years are developmentally really important for kind of establishing those leadership skills before they come to a camp setting where they are going to be leading 3rd through 6th graders. And some 7th graders, it might be hard to differentiate if they have 6th grade friends. Sometimes it's hard to break that boundary of I'm now a counselor compared to a camper. A good question though. Did that answer it? Yeah. All right, so the next 2 things I want to talk about are fantastic opportunities for, again, our high school students, especially our musically inclined ones. So we do have a 4-H band and a 4-H chorus. They are for 9th through 12th graders. And both of these take place at Purdue University, and they also both get to perform at 4-H Roundup. Both groups get there June 20th. The band stays a little, and I apologize, I just realized I have a wrong date on there. The band performs the first night of Roundup for the 4-Hers that are going there, and the choir performs the second night. So they are working nonstop pretty much right when they get there. They are practicing. So they are playing in the band. They are on with their instrument practically 24/7. Choir is, and it's a show choir, so they do get to do some dancing, fun stuff. And they learn, I can't even remember, I want to say at least like 8 songs, both groups at least. Which is a pretty awesome feat when you think about what it takes to get people that from around the state that are meeting for the first time on a Saturday, and they're ready to perform by a Monday or Tuesday. So awesome opportunity. If you're interested, please be on the lookout for more information again in January. If you know kiddos that are into band and choir, this is an awesome opportunity for them to try something a little different than probably what they're used to in school, but sort of hone those abilities. This does have an additional application process. It's really, they have to have a letter from their band or choir director, and they do perform tryouts to sort of get their seats as well for like band and choir, and figure out different sections once they get there. National 4-H Congress is another opportunity for 9th through 12th grade, and this is again an opportunity where delegates are selected through an application and interview process because we can only send so many kids from Indiana. This is November 27th through December 1st, and this takes place in Atlanta, Georgia. This is an awesome opportunity to really just build those leadership skills. The deadline for this is May 1st for the 2020 year as well, so November of 2020 is when this would be happening. Again, the actual cost for this is $400. Your price would be different if selected to go. This is a great growth opportunity. Again, a very small group from Indiana gets to go to this. So the kids that we have been able to send from Hendricks County has just spoken so highly of this program. Yes.
About transportation.
Oh, yes. So that, I believe, is part of the cost. They travel as a group to Atlanta. Very good question. National Dairy Conference is for grades 9 through 12, and this is the end of September through the beginning of October. This takes place at the University of Wisconsin-Madison campus. This is a lot focused on dairy production and related careers. The cost for this event is $450, and that is actual our 4-Hers cost, because there is Indiana 4-H Dairy Academy that sends kids on this trip at a different cost than this. We encourage kids, if they are interested in dairy, to participate in Indiana Dairy Academy, because not only do they get to go to this, but they get to go on a lot of other trips, and they get to visit a lot of other dairy farms. They get a lot more interaction, so it's more bang for the buck, really, for those kids that are interested in dairy. If there are questions about that, or if you know you have kids that are interested in dairy programs, please contact our office. Jeff Pell, our A&R educator, is heavily involved in the Indiana 4-H Dairy Academy and be able to answer a lot of those questions. Aubrey Wicker, who spoke at our council meeting a couple months ago. She was one that actually went on this trip, or on the was part of the Indiana Dairy Academy, and could also speak very highly of it. She did a phenomenal job when she came to speak at 4-H Council about her experience. So, questions about those trips? I'm going to talk some more about kind of trips, local opportunities. Mm-hmm. Questions about trips? Okay. So other opportunities, we do offer other opportunities for 4-H youth around the state. Fluid Power Workshop is one of those. This is for teams of 4 to 5 youth in grades 6 through 8 with one adult chaperone. They have a workshop date at Purdue and then a challenge date, and this is all about fluid power. So they have to solve a challenge using, it's an engineering problem using fluid power. The deadline for this is January 17th. There will be more information coming out on this, and you can also visit our website, and we'll include that information here as well. Indiana State Fair exhibit hall worker. So this is something that's near and dear to my heart because I was an Indiana 4-H exhibit hall worker, and that is where I met my husband. So I always have to tell people it can be a life-changing experience, but that's not for everybody. You do have to be at least 15 years old, and this is for kids that would be able to work the end of July, typically till the beginning of school, the end of state fair, whatever works in your schedule. This is a paid position, so instead of paying to do something, this is where 4-Hers get paid to do something. And it's an awesome chance for 4-Hers to see sort of behind the scenes of state fair. They get to help set up the project. So if any of you have ever been to the state fair and have seen all of the posters that are there, all of the stuff that happens in the exhibit hall, those don't just magically appear. Our 4-Hers work really hard to set those up. So it's a lot of hard work, a lot of fun, because you are in close quarters with a group of people from around the state. You become like family with those people. Applications for this are due April 1st. If you have 4-Hers that are looking for a great summer job but maybe can't do all summer, this is a great way to make some money and really help out the 4-H program.
Katie, question on this, because we're saying end of July to the completion of the state fair.
Yes.
School starts before that. And I know if they are showing 4-H or whatever at the state fair, legally the school cannot hold them accountable for their absence. What about this case?
I would have to double check on that. So the neat thing about this is they're also very flexible. We have had kids that have been able to work pretty much up until school started and then might come back on the weekends to help. I know that when I was a worker, Ball State even started before the state fair was over. So I would actually just work until I was able to go back to school, and then I was done. So it really depends. They try and be flexible. I don't know about the excused absence per se, because this is also a job. I would have to ask and get back to you, but I know the state fair is very flexible, and they do so. Especially like during pre-fair, if people are showing it in livestock shows or doing like fashion review, they make sure to work around your schedule as well. And they'll help even get you to where you need to go. So if you have to be in at fashion review at a certain time, they'll make sure you have time to prep, and then you're going to fashion review. So absolutely, they know schools are starting. And again, that's kind of the nice thing though, is they can be pretty flexible with that. So it takes a lot to get set up. It does take a lot to run during the fair, but they've been able to adjust as best they can once schools start. So that's a good question. They stay in dorms there. So exhibit hall has dorms. There's female and male bunks, that sort of stuff. And they actually are, where the dorms are is a secure spot. So like to get into the hallway, they actually have to have a passcode. So like Joe Schmo can't come walking in and accidentally run into a dorm. Those are very secure locations for our kids, and they are there. A lot of parents will drop off and then pick up at the end of time whenever it's time for them to go to school. Teens, if they can drive themselves, they'll get a parking location close to wherever they're able to park at state fair. It just kind of depends on state fair guidelines at that point, but they can provide transportation there, the kids themselves. And then a lot of times, like if they need to go, they'll do some outings. Like they'll take all of the kids maybe out to eat one night before fair starts. They have Purdue vans that can help with that transportation as well. So yes. Yep. Yep. So some other state opportunities, we do have a state 4-H robotics challenge coming up in April. We have multiple experience 4-H opportunities, and these events are like one day sort of day camps for various kids and interests. I believe they are listed on the Purdue website. I will have to double check. I will make sure they are also posted with this video on the club leader page too. But I know we just talked about some today. I think there's a 3D print one year. So this is actually one of our 4-Hers. They did an experience 4-H sound thing activity. So again, it's typically on a Saturday. It's just a one day. They get to come explore a different activity, usually at very low cost to kids. But no transportation is provided. Those parents would have to transport on those. The Indiana 4-H Leadership Summit actually just happened a couple weekends ago. We had some volunteers go. This is a one-day event. The last 2 years it has been held in Carmel. It's to recognize our volunteers. They have different breakout sessions. And then at lunch is when they do the scholarship recognition of our foundation scholarship winners and our tenured volunteer recognition as well. The Indy Food Youth Challenge is also in November, and it was a couple weekends ago, and that might have been October this year. And that is an opportunity for kids. They partner with the Latino Expo, I believe, and it's pretty much like a Chopped. Have you ever seen the TV show Chopped, where they have certain foods that they have to incorporate, and there's lessons that go with it. So that's an awesome opportunity for teams that are interested in food. A really awesome upcoming program we have is Citizenship Washington Focus with the inaugural address in 2021. We will be sending a small team of 4-Hers from Indiana. I don't know costs yet. None of that has been decided, but there will be an application and an interview process, most likely. More information on that will be coming soon, but what a fantastic opportunity to be able to send kids. So again, this hasn't even like come out yet really for available applications, but if you have kids in your club that you think, oh man, this would be awesome, start thinking about it now. Think about what can they relate to what they're learning in 4-H now that would really help maybe beef up an application. Awesome opportunity. Some other local opportunities we have. So we've talked a lot about regular 4-H, but we don't want to forget our mini 4-Hers. We do have a mini 4-H day camp on June 3rd this year. They get to come explore the fairgrounds, do a lot of different fun breakout activities. And we do have our PLACE program, which is practical learning and career exploration. This is a program with Area 31 Career Center. And this is for junior high students, and this will be held the beginning of June. More information about that will be coming out soon as well. STEM programs, we have really ramped up our STEM programming here in Hendricks County 4-H. This year we'll be doing something in January, typically around April, the springtime. We've tried to do something at fair, and then in October is our National Youth Science Day. And this past year we had National Youth Science Day. We had about 16 kids show up and learn about coding and computer science. Awesome opportunity for kids, and a lot of these are open to a wide range of kids. We try not to be super specific, and we try to also include families into our STEM activities as well, because we believe that 4-H is a family event that kids and adults alike can share an interest in STEM.
Mm-hmm. Junior high students, find that.
So I believe it was 6th, 7th, and 8th graders last year, and I believe that is what we will be doing again this year. Some other local opportunities, communication events. We've got things like interactive demonstrations, a regular demonstration, which is a how-to where you're standing in front of an audience and there's no interaction. An interactive demonstration is sort of how to do something, but you're actually interacting with people. So that's a question we get a lot, or what are the difference between those two? Interactive demonstration can be just on about any project or anything that you are interested in general. Demonstrations have to be a little more connected to certain 4-H topics. Informative 4-H presentation, professional persuasive presentation, public speaking. Again, those we have guidelines for those in our handbook, but all types of different public speaking programs. We do also offer illustrated talk for rabbit and poultry members as well. Most of these events are held at the fair or around fair time. Performing arts is another one. So this is open to all 4-H members, and even minis can be a part of a group act. This will take place in the spring of 2020 for the local level. For the state, it will actually be, kids will perform at Roundup or at the state fair, depending on how they do at area contest. Our area contest will also be in the spring. I don't think the date has been determined on that. Categories include musical, non-musical, and group acts. More information will be coming soon. This is actually a picture of one of our 4-Hers performing at Roundup a couple years ago. Career development events. These are judging contests. This is an opportunity for all of our 4-H members as well. We could put 4-H teams together for any of these competitions if any volunteers would be interested in leading teams, or I'm happy to connect those that are interested to teams that we already have, if so. So if you have kids that are interested, take a look at that. Okay, questions about trips? I know it was a lot. Yes?
What can we say to parents to reassure them that their kids will be safe?
Oh, great question. So for those that are online and couldn't hear, the question was, what can we do to reassure parents that they will be safe on trips? So all of our trips are chaperoned by either extension educators or screened 4-H volunteers. So all of the things that they go through at Purdue, again, there are educators and volunteers that are there every night at Purdue. I know for sure they do bed checks as well. So we will knock on doors and say, I need to see, so and so and so and so in this room, and we have to call in then to the dorm parent, we call them, and say, Area 6, Hendricks County is all accounted for. So we do checks. Kids that attend the different events also get wristbands or the lanyards that have emergency numbers on them of what to call. Different trips also have different emergency protocols. So like Purdue, if kids go to Purdue, they have the emergency call towers, and we explain to the kids on how to use those. Any of the local camp has emergency protocol that we go over with our camp counselors. We try and remind the kids if something were to happen, here's what you do. Again, all of that staff that would be there is screened all for 4-H camp. Educators go with chaperones. You're not going to find a trip, I don't think, where there's not at least a handful of 4-H educators that are there as chaperones as well. And if there are any questions or concerns, we try and address those ahead of time as much as possible. All of these require health forms and everything. So if there's anything specific that we need to be aware of, that's where I, as an educator, would want to have that conversation with the parent to make sure that we can go above and beyond to make sure that those kids feel safe if there's any concerns. Does that help? So scholarships, we're going to breeze through these really quick. There's handouts in the back for tonight, and again, I will post those also online. So just to kind of go over, this sheet talks a little bit about who can apply for what. Our accomplishment scholarships are 10th through 12th grade, and these have different categories. There's an application process, and then if your application is selected, there's an interview process as well. And club scholarship is for 4-H members entering Purdue University, majoring in College of Ag or select majors in the College of Health and Human Sciences. I believe when I pull up the website, it also has a lot more information about that. This is awarded on a basis of scholastic ability, financial need, and achievement in 4-H club work. The senior year scholarship is available to 4-H members in their senior year of high school, based largely on 4-H record with a small amount on other work and activities. And then we also have the horticulture and landscape architecture scholarship, and this is specific to 4-H members entering those fields at Purdue University, and that they studied plant science in 4-H. So these are all the scholarships I just mentioned are through the Indiana 4-H Foundation, which is like the fundraising arm of 4-H, and that's where they are all sort of housed. There are scholarships that can be funded specifically for Hendricks County kids in some of these. So like Junior Leaders actually funds some of the senior year scholarships. The last couple of years we've donated $1,200 to scholarships that come back specifically to Hendricks County 4-Hers. We don't get to pick, that is still through that application process, but the money is housed at the 4-H Foundation, and the Junior Leaders have said it needs to come back to Hendricks County 4-H. So we have funds out there specifically for our Hendricks County 4-H kids. This is a list of all of our scholarships for 4-H members. That link will take you to our page, and I will show you at the end as well what that page looks like. But here's a list of all of our scholarships. Most of those are due January 25th, along with the foundation scholarships. Some are not. Some have a later date, but take a look at those. To help our 4-Hers, we do have what we call Next Steps Night, and this is going to be December 9th this year. There's a flyer back there for anybody that's interested. This is where kids can come and pretty much talk about what they could do after high school, whether that's college, whether that's entering the career field, whether that's going to the military, tips on how to write a resume, and we will have a panel of college students as well where they get to actually ask questions. So take a look at this. Club leaders, please promote this in your clubs, especially to your high school students. Anyone is welcome, but it's designed more for high school students. Back there, I also have the Indiana 4-H Youth Development Accomplishment Resume Scholarship handout. This is a pretty thick packet. This is available online as well for parents as a good resource. It talks a lot about the different categories, tips on how to write the resume as well. Okay, questions about scholarships? I kind of breezed through that. I told you I was going to touch the top of the iceberg here. Okay. Last is club officer materials. So Purdue has a bunch of different guides. There's a packet back there. We'll also provide a link to these online. These have been put together by the State 4-H program. These are great starting points for club officers. There are a lot of other resources available. Another resource would be Purdue actually has a collegiate 4-H team that is willing to come do local club officer trainings. We have not done one of those. We will not be doing one this year. We are looking at maybe changing up how we do club officer trainings at a county level in the coming years to see if we can get more people engaged, get more club officers, get more people interested. But this is a great starting point. And I will also share a couple other resources from other states too that have good resources for club officer trainings as well. So here's our resource page, and I'm going to pull up a couple of what these look like. I need to share. Okay. So I am going to first show you. So here's the State 4-H website. Again, I'll send links to all this. It's going to be in the PowerPoint. These are a list of all of the programs that kids could participate in. So it goes into more detail of what the different trips are that they could attend. There's national ones here. Again, talks about all of those different ones. As well as our local trips page. Here's our local trips page. Oops. This is also where you can find applications for things like the Global Gateway Experience, National 4-H Conference, all those kinds of things. For our scholarships, you'll see this is the State 4-H website for scholarships. Again, it talks in a little more detail about the different ones than I did. It's got on how to submit the scholarships. It's got more, if you click them, you can learn more about like the expectations and everything too. Our page has a list of scholarships as well. And this also has a list at the bottom of all of the scholarships they can click on and print out if they need to. If you click the different links up here, it'll also take you to those specific details of the scholarship. And then finally, we have our club officer resources. We've got club officer resources from the state level. Here's all of our guides. There's some workshop materials for like meetings, how to do that. These go into a lot more detail than what I printed off for you guys tonight. And then finally, we have, this was an example of another officer training resource. This is from Ohio State. They have different videos that kids can watch and talk about it. Again, it's a little different because it's Ohio and it's not Indiana 4-H, and 4-H can be a little different state to state, but there are other great resources out there if you're interested in what other states do and maybe find a different resource that would connect with your club. So, okay. With that, I think that's all I have. So, are there questions about anything we talked about tonight? Questions? Okay, it was a lot, I know. So, if there are any questions, feel free to reach out to me. I'm happy to go into more detail with anything that we talked about tonight. I will post this as soon as we can, along with all the different resources we talked about tonight. And please encourage your kids to attend these trips, to apply for those scholarships, to be an active member of your club, because we really want to make sure we're making the best better and giving our kids a chance to explore their own state and country. All right. Yes.
Excuse me. I know our club, and I'm not sure about others, we're not going to have a meeting until January. All these deadlines that are coming up and in December and before January and everything, what are we doing to get that communication out?
It's a great question. So we have sent emails, and it has been in the newsletter. It will again be in the newsletter this month as well. We've done what we can to try and promote it on social media as well. So follow us on Facebook, Instagram, all that fun stuff. But we have been trying to push information out as well. All right. Thank you all so much for coming, and thank you for those hopping online. We will talk to you later. Have a great night.